Good evening and welcome to our January 2026 voting meeting of the Exeter Township School District. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
They're probably afraid to come in.
Mr. Fike, will you please take roll call?
Yes. Julia Schaefer,
Here.
Allison Wilson,
Here.
Dr. Andrea Battler, Deborah Bloom,
Still here.
Joseph Cook,
Here.
John Fiddler,
Here.
Dr. Ann Herring,
Present.
Jason Mill,
Here.
Travis Odom,
I'm here for this one.
8 present, 1 absent.
Where were you, Travis? Cooking dinner for my kids.
Thank you, Mr. Fike. In addition to the 8 board members in attendance, we are joined at the board table by our solicitor, Sharon Montaigne, and members of the school district administration, including Dr. Christy Haller, superintendent, Mrs. Dawn Harris, assistant superintendent, Dr. Josh Hoyt, director of teaching and learning, Mrs. Diane Skornavaki, director of human resources, and Mr. Brian Fike, who serves as our business administrator and board secretary. There are no amendments to tonight's agenda. Just an announcement that the Personnel Committee met this evening to welcome Joe Cook and review committee procedures, agenda, and best practices. What are we at? Are we at presentations? Okay, now we will have a presentation from PFM on the bond.
Good evening. It's been a while. We'll do this one for both. You want me to do the credit rating first or this one? Okay. Okay, well, thank you. My name is Jamie Schlesinger from PFM. We served as the district's municipal advisor on its outstanding debt, worked with the district for a number of years. Here to talk about an action that was taken by Standard & Poor's about a month and a half ago related to its outstanding rating under the bond issuance that are in place. Standard & Poor's is an third-party credit rating agency that provides ratings to local governments, school districts, counties throughout the country. The district has used S&P for decades. Back in 2023, the district was going through a surveillance process that had been reviewed in anticipation of potentially doing some borrowings in the future. But during that surveillance process, which is a normal circumstance for Standard & Poor's and other rating agencies, they put the district on a negative outlook or a negative watch because of changes to or reductions to its outstanding fund balance, that it was starting to fall within levels that were below its peers that are both local and national. So we all know Pennsylvania is always a little different than everyone else. We have a lot of local school districts, but we have nationally there's humongous school districts. So the representation of those percentages are always just a little bit different throughout the country. But as compared to its peers, you were starting to fall to levels that were just below the standards of a AA category. So Standard & Poor's put the district on a negative outlook, and we proceeded moving forward with some transactions that were tied to a number of things. And for anyone that was paying attention to the meetings back in the day publicly, one of the discussions that we had was doing something called a restructuring of its outstanding debt when you were issuing new bonds for capital projects. So we developed a strategy working with the district administration and the board, of course, to move forward with the restructuring of its debt to reduce its operational cost of debt service to fit within the standards that we felt we were comfortable with, to also allow us to build in new capital for debt service. And it worked very, very well. We were able to reduce the outstanding debt service by several $1 million annually, and we were able to borrow the funds as anticipated. And at the same time, after that point, the district began increasing its reserves, because during the last few years prior to, it was using some of the reserves for things like capital projects or just general operational use. As part of that process, we communicated with Standard & Poor's about our plan, and we were to come back within the 2 years after the negative watch. That is a requirement under the rules of Standard & Poor's, and we had a follow-up phone call at the end of 2025. Through that conversation, we went through everything that the district had done, which was performed all the necessary transactions, did the capital needs, raised taxes, and increased our fund balance each of those years. So we hit every single step that was required and discussed during that phone call. The unfortunate circumstance is, based on the metrics that Standard & Poor's was using, they felt that within its peers, even though you increased your fund balance, it was just below levels of what are currently their AA metrics. So when you compare where the district was a few years ago as a percentage of total revenues, you were at 18.6%. You're now about 16.3% of total reserves. That's all reserves, by the way. So you're within a few percentage of where you were, but at the time, last year, Standard & Poor's felt that when they went to committee, you were just below the thresholds, and they determined that they would downgrade the district to the AA- credit rating, which is unfortunate. And honestly, I don't know if the district could have done anything different, because I think they followed everything that was associated with the plan. It just unfortunately fell just below the levels that S&P felt within their standards. All that being said, yes, it's an unfortunate circumstance that the rating did go down, but the good news is none of the outstanding debt that the district has gets hurt. All the debt is fixed rate until maturity, so nothing changes from there. Yes, we had to report that there was a change in your credit rating. I believe going forward, and I believe your audit will show, you'll have another positive year in overall reserves. And I think those things will continue to be managed by the board going forward. And I hope in the future we'll have another conversations through surveillance with S&P, and maybe we'll see a change going back to the levels that we were, and hopefully we'll get to that position where we were prior to. So all that being said, I feel very comfortable where the rating is. I feel very comfortable that the district did exactly what it is intended to do. The board was prudent in its borrowings, and it is prudent in the transactions that it's been completing, and it is also doing things that are providing operational savings as well as efficiencies. I think all those things will continue to happen over the course of time, and we'll see where the things fall in the next few years. So happy to answer any questions on that, but I did want to point those things out.
Can I ask one thing?
Sure.
The outlook is stable now, right?
Yes. Good
So
point.
it's a big difference from a negative
Correct.
outlook. But I think this might be for Stifel. I screw your name up all the time, I'm sorry. Basis points, what would it cost us more if we went out to run, if we borrowed today?
So from your last bond issue, 2023 and 2024, you did issues. You're talking about 3 to 5 basis points. So what is a basis point? It's, if 100 basis points is 1%, it's 0.03 to 0.05, right? So to use round numbers, if your borrowing rate was 350 before, now it may be 3.53% or 3.55. So that's kind of like the net impact, but as Jamie mentioned before, that only matters when you go to issue bonds. Your rates are all fixed, and you issued at very low rates previously. So
The negative outlook actually before lowered us a little bit, probably about the same amount.
yeah, by a like amount, right? From a double A, so you can think of it as like here's a double A. To double A minus, with or double A with a negative outlook, to a double A solid, right, to double A minus with a stable outlook, right? So net from top to bottom, from a double A to double A minus, right, stable, it's probably about 10. But again, when you issued before, you already had the negative outlook, so there was probably about 3 to 5 basis points already built in there, and there's probably another 3 to 5 from there, from when you issued in 23 to 24. So I don't know if everybody followed me on that. Okay, great.
Just to, one thing I wanted to add here, in S&P's publication, they put this out for any of their upgrades, downgrades, for the credit ratings. But it says we could lower the rating if Exeter Township School District's financial profile were to materially deteriorate due to capital needs, operating pressures, or planned drawdowns. Knock on wood, I don't think any of that stuff is foreseen or we're planning on anything like that. And then they end or conclude with, we could raise the rating if the district maintains higher reserves, economic metrics improve, and fixed costs moderate. So, Jamie, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but that's, it sounds like we can get the credit rating back up.
You can.
Yeah.
You're on the right path, in my humble opinion. We have seen the last few years of an increase in your fund balance through the positive operations of the district. Again, the management of the revenue enhancements that have come from tax increases over the last couple of years have also helped. In addition, as I pointed out, the projects that were completed several years ago were for operational efficiencies as well as doing good things for the students. So that value should start to see its way through over the next couple of years, because now you're not using as many funds to do fix the ceilings or doing projects that you weren't intending to do because they're new buildings. In addition, as we talked about, there's some other efficient projects that are happening, like the solar project that's being contemplated, that would reduce your operational cost associated with your energy. So that planning of that is a very valuable tool here. So, I think the combination of those financial metrics and hopefully the continued increase in reserves because of those things should benefit you. I pointed out also that we hope to see some increase in some of your market values over the next few years and assessed values because of some additional changes that could happen with growth in the township, in the general area. And I pointed out that one of the things that will be coming off the books in 2027 is the shopping center that Target is in. That is a TIF project, a tax increment financing, and that is being, the cost of that structure was being funded by the incremental tax revenues associated with that. That matures in 2027.
Yeah, it was a 20-year.
It was a 20-year issue, which I worked on 20 years ago, so it makes me feel old. But putting that all together, I think that's also a credit positive, which is not built into these at all, but I think that's another thing we should be looking forward to. All the other things, the other demographic information, you just can't manage all of them. So I think doing what you're doing, being thoughtful on your budgets, and making the necessary changes are just something you're going to do. We hope that the credit rating agency will follow along with the things that are being done positively, and you'll get that change hopefully in the future. But I wouldn't sweat it too much at this point in time.
Jamie, can these these decisions be appealed?
It happened one time for me. Now, it happened one time for me because a school district that had a financing in between a credit rating and a surveillance, there was some legal documentation built into the transaction that the rating agency wasn't happy with, and we were able to modify those that process, and they were willing to adjust it. So it is difficult to make those changes unless there's a major adjustment. So I will tell you, there was a very good conversation I had when I spoke with them when I heard about this, and I can tell you they heard my piece. But the end result was they are the arbiter of the credit ratings, and I can only do so much.
Mr. Fike, when we start getting into budget discussions, obviously within the coming months here, are we going to be taking into account needing to build back up the reserves when we look at what we need in terms of revenue and potential tax increases?
I'd love to do that, but I also don't think we need it. I'm just trying to keep a balanced budget. I would have a hard time, and I fought the S&P with Jamie on this, is a hard time to build up reserves using taxpayer dollars. You know, if we have a balanced budget and we don't spend it all that year, then we put that money into reserves. But I would not suggest just raising taxes to build up reserves. You know, because the other thing is we cannot get out of them is what our peer groups are. We don't know if the peer groups are all in Pennsylvania or they're out of state. And they didn't make a notice in the letter, the rating letter, that we are following state guidelines, and the board has adopted those, you know, for the unrestricted. You know, we might have 16% fund balance, but we have less than 8% unrestricted that we can use for anything. You know, I'd like to see us get up to that 8%, because 8% is 22 days of bills. We're lucky that our taxpayers pay during the discount period, especially this year, because the state didn't give us any money into December with the budget impasse. A lot of school districts had to borrow money. We were able to use our reserves to cover our bills instead of have to borrow and incur interest charges. So,
I mean, Mr. Fike brought up an interesting point. Is that something S&P would do? They'd actually compare us to somebody, a different state,
Yes.
schools in a different state that have a completely different set of laws for the school?
Yes.
Like, you know,
Yeah, there's-
having to be under 8% and unassigned fund balance and all of that.
Yeah, they provide a institutional framework tied to every state. So in Pennsylvania, everyone gets a AA for Pennsylvania itself. But, you know, another state may use a different tax basis. They may be sales tax versus property taxes. There's just different ways different municipalities or states do things, but it is all one municipal bond market.
Interesting.
I do think, though, I understand, you know, we don't want to raise taxes just to increase our fund balance, but I do believe that the budget impasse that happened earlier this year did impact us negatively. Because at that point, when we would have already, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, I do listen to you, when we collect the money from the taxpayers, we essentially, in layman's terms, put it in the bank, and then from that, we get the interest, which is extremely helpful.
When you say we, you mean the school
The school
district?
district.
We're not
The school-
collectively collecting
again,
interest off of the taxpayer money. I just want to make that very clear.
Regular people terms. And we weren't able to do that this time as for a long period of time, because we were using that money to pay the bills because of the budget impasse. So the budget impasse, even though we didn't have to go out and borrow money to meet our expenditures, we did in fact lose interest that we would have earned previously when the budget is passed the way it's supposed to be passed. So I do think that as we look to the planning for the 26-27 school year, we also have to take into account that we didn't earn that interest this year, and that could potentially impact how we proceed forward and what the tax increase looks like because of that.
and I think you're correct on that, because was it the second or third question they asked? Did you have to borrow
Yeah.
because of the state budget not being done?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we work with about half the school districts in the Commonwealth, and I would tell you that over 100 school districts use the state intercept programs method to help cover debt service. That was a pretty significant amount of schools that utilized that. A significant amount of them did do tax revenue anticipation notes to cover operational costs in that period of time. And whether you are a AAA rated issuer or a single A rated issuer or no rated issuer, some folks did do that because funding was delayed. So, you know, kudos that you didn't need to use that. But to your exact point, you're right. There was a, you know, unearned interest from those funds that you would have had, and that's not something that's coming back. Anyone else have any questions? I'm happy to answer them.
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, our next presentation is Crapper Demographic Study with Devapar.
You don't want to do enrollment too?
Yeah,
All right, good. Just checking, Jamie.
thanks, Chris.
Okay. I'll just to give a quick introduction. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back with you all this evening. As you know, about, I think, 9 months ago or so, the board had asked Devapar to help get proposals to do a full enrollment demographic study. Ooh, what was that? That's okay. I'll go this way. Oh, wait. Yeah, I'm just gonna need. That's okay. Tell me when. Okay now? Nope. Should be good now. Okay, thank you. So again, about 9 months ago, we secured 2 proposals. The board reviewed those under consideration, and you selected Cropper GIS as the firm to work with to do the enrollment study. We worked through that, or they worked through that into the fall. We had an initial draft that was shared with the administration late October, early November. We went through and reviewed that, really made sure we had the input from a local perspective from the administration, made a couple slight tweaks based on that meeting, and tonight Cropper GIS is here virtually online to kind of give you a high-level overview of the study. One thing I just want to say before I turn it over to them, obviously this is truly a planning tool. It's a forecast, kind of like this weekend. We have forecasts, right? We have 3 inches, we have a foot that's 16 inches, right? They will be more accurate than that, I can promise that, but just from my past work dealings with them. But it is a forecast, and as things come up, one of the pieces of a partnership is as things come up, as hitting the news yesterday, potentially more apartments and things that are happening. We will take a look periodically at what's happening. October 1 counts come in because Cropper, and I'm sure they'll talk about this, they want to make sure that their projections are modeling the way they've been modeled as of this evening. And if there are things that are happening at a local level, a community level, even a national policy level that's impacting your school district, they'll come back and take a look at that and make tweaks if it's out of, if the changes are at an extreme variance that can impact your planning and review moving forward. So I'm going to sit down, I'm going to let them present, and then I'll come back when they're done and we can have a discussion and help answer any questions. So again, thanks for having us this evening, and I'll turn it over to Zorn. I don't know if Matt's on or not, but Zorn will definitely be on to review the study. Thanks.
start. So, my name is Zoran Stojakovic. I'm a demographer for Cropper GIS Consulting, and we're honored to have this opportunity to do a demographic study for the district and help you with planning and budgeting process for the upcoming years. A little bit about the company. Matt, who's also here, is our president. He has more than 20 years of experience providing K-12 consulting services to hundreds of school districts across the country. He has experience managing and facilitating K-12 redistricting and facility planning, and also is an expert consultant for U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. My name is Zoran Stojakovic. I'm the main author of this study. I also worked in planning projects for over 100 districts in the U.S. I've been working this type of work for 9 years now. I specialize in demographic analysis, population enrollment forecasting. I also have a strong background in GIS and urban and regional planning. So project objectives for this study. The two main project objectives were to create population enrollment forecasts for each school and school zone for the next 10 years. This is a two-step process in which we create population forecasts first, and these population forecasts then drive the enrollment forecast. Today, the presentation is intended to highlight the findings of this demographic study and review the population forecast, its implications, and of course the enrollment forecast itself. So to do a demographic study, we analyze various demographic, housing, economic data to give us a more accurate picture of the trends in the area. We summarize this all in the report with all the underlying data, findings, forecasts, and maps, and so on. Demographic analysis itself is important for districts to gain a clear understanding of what's occurring in the area. In order to know what will happen, we have to know what happened in the recent past for the entire population. Age structure and migration dynamics of various areas, they all play a role, and they're primary drivers of population change. So what we do is we develop population forecasts using cohort component method, which is then modified. And for this, four main data sets are used. One is 2020 census as a base year for the study, and then a set of age-specific fertility rates, mortality rates, and then we develop a model for net migration. We also look at actual number of births in the district and number of deaths. Thankfully, Pennsylvania has all that data available. And then finally, we look at historical enrollment to produce enrollment forecast. In order to do this, we also list down a set of assumptions, which are all non-demographic and not necessarily part of the scope of the study. They're having to do with economy going into deep recession, things like worldwide pandemic or huge mortgage crisis, mortgage staying below a certain number is important, but also having to do with things like opening of new charter schools, changes in intra-district policies, transfer rates, and all that. And we also assume a certain number of housing units being sold every year. This is 400 for the district. And if this falls significantly below this number to about 350 and it lasts for more than 2 years, I would say, then this would negatively affect the forecasting. Anyway, all these assumptions, if they're broken for the next 10 years, they will have a certain effect, positive or negative, to the population forecast and then to enrollment forecast. So we provide, before the results, we provide some tables that are some interesting findings from the census about the district. One important characteristic is household and householder characteristics for the area. These numbers show us approximately how many households within each elementary school zone are with school-age children, but also they show us how many households are over 65. Especially important is percentage of householders, single householders who are over 65, because these are the most likely houses to be sold soon or being turned over, and the likelihood of these being sold to new families is high. So these things are important for us to, when we look at sort of where each zone and district as a whole stands at this point. And also we look at percentage of householders who own homes. This is also important. So then we develop population pyramids. I'm sure you've seen these before, just sort of fingerprints for each district. Each of these bars represents 5-year age cohort, male and female. So not only school-age kids are important here, not only households that are most likely to have school-age kids, but also obviously pre-Ks living in this area. You can see here the lowest bar is smaller than the next bar. So that means that if there's no in-migration of pre-K kids in the area in the next 5 years, or this is from 2020, that would mean this is actual population pyramid for the district. That would mean less kids in elementary schools 5 years from then. Here you can see that the number, that the largest bars are 55 to 64. This means that these groups are going to be selling homes in the next 15, 20 years. So that's one thing to notice. And these upper bars are important because these empty nesters and turnover households, they're the most likely to sell homes. In a district like this is the main driver of in-migration. So as these bars go up and are bigger, we're expecting bigger turnover rate and more younger families moving in. And this is the forecasted population pyramid for 2035. And one last thing before the results. These are limit 10 tables. We also provide heat maps that represent this. What we do is take a list of all the students in the district and map them based on their address, and then join them to the zone that they're living in. And then we create these tables that show these diagonals in green. They show kids that live in a assigned school zone and are enrolled in that school. And then all these other numbers show all the kids that are enrolled in the school on the left side, but are not living in the zone that they're assigned to. These numbers are not huge for the district, so they're not going to have significant. So they don't have significant impact on the forecast, but they're interesting for the district itself to see how many students are coming in each school from a different zone and from out of the district too. So then on to the forecast results. So this is a population forecast table. We provide this for the district and then for each elementary school zone. So we're expecting slight decline in the overall population from 27,200 estimated today to 26,840. We're expecting median age to slightly grow from 43.6 in 2020 to 44.4 in 2035. The number of births is going to fluctuate between 1,160 to 1,200 for each 5-year period. This is lower than it was in previous decade, and that's mainly from because of falling fertility rates. but it's pretty much going to be stable. But the number of deaths is going to go up, and that's because growing number of older people. So because of this, natural increase is going to go down. But then net migration, we're expecting it to grow. One, because of the housing turnover rate going up, and two, because of expected housing construction that is expected in the district. And all in all, we're expecting change to still go down by the increasing number. But then on to the important age groups here, 5 to 9 year olds here, we're expecting pretty much stable number from today to 10 years from now, with a slight growth, about 20 students. But then 10 to 14 year olds, we're expecting to drop by 70 people, and then 15 to 9 year olds to drop significantly down. Obviously, these three age groups correspond to elementary school, middle school, and high school. So this is what, and then 0 to 4 year olds, we're expecting pretty much stable number. So these are the numbers that drive the enrollment forecast. This is total district, but this is the case for each of the 3 elementary schools. And then on to the main enrollment forecasting table. So all in all, K to 4s, we're expecting slight growth in the next 10 years by about 30 students. But the overall number is going to start falling slightly, and this is due to large cohorts coming out of this K to 4 system, 300 third graders and 300 fourth graders last year, and then 326 fourth graders this year. This will cause the number to fall. And then you had an unusually low kindergartner number this year, based on the overall, because we use last 6 years of enrollment to forecast. But so based on that, we're expecting kindergartners to stay in 230s and then go up to 240s, mid 240s. Part of the reason why there was a drop this year might be because of COVID numbers dropping, COVID number of births dropping, and these are the kids that are coming sort of online now and next year. So we're expecting slight growth in K to 4, but then 5 to 6 and 7 to 8, we're expecting almost the identical drop of about 30 kids for each level, from 583 to about 555. And then the high schoolers, we're expecting a significant drop of about 200 students for the next 10 years. So overall, that means K to 12 we're forecasting it to drop by about 217 students in the next 10 years. Because of the cascading effect of lower grades moving through the system, and growing K to 4 numbers in the next decade, we're expecting this to affect higher grades by the end of next decade. So that would be it. Now we can hear your questions, comments.
So, hold on just 1 second. Let's see if we can. Josh, do you have the owl on?
Do I need to
Yeah. Would you like me to text the questions? Might be easier.
Mr. Way, the question I was going to ask was, what is the margin of error on the projections?
Sorry. Yeah.
Zoran, they were asking what the margin of error is on the, on the forecast.
Yeah, so margin, I don't know if I should answer in the chat.
Yeah, I would answer it verbally. I think
Yeah,
he's just
okay.
giving us the message because we can't hear.
Yeah, plus or minus 2% for the life of the forecast for the total district number, and also for elementary school, high school, middle school levels. That is what we've. That is sort of what we've seen in most of our forecasts and what's expected level of error.
Mr. Way,
Yeah.
if you could type back and ask, is that plus or minus 2% of the entire enrollment number? Thank you.
Sorry, isn't it?
Yes, plus or minus total enrollment, but also plus or minus K to 5. We usually have K to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12. But so I would say for each school level, plus or minus 2%.
And I think that also, and one other note on that is that assumes that the assumptions hold through the life of the forecast. So if we start to see error outside of plus or minus 2%, the first place we go look at are the assumptions to see what assumptions, if any, have been violated. And usually more often than not, error happens when we miss migration. And that's like people moving into the district or people moving out or a combination of both. And typically it's something may happen in the district or in the country that causes home sales to lag or to be accelerated. And that's usually where we see forecasts start to deviate. But we do try to achieve, and our measure of success is plus or minus 2% through the life of the forecast at the district level. You get into like the sub-levels, 2 grade cohorts of like 550 kids, you may see more error at the smaller sample like that. But we try to remain about plus or minus 2%. Another thing to note when it comes to error, sometimes a district, if you see like next year, which I don't anticipate it happening next year, but if you see us hovering above or below 2% or somewhere around 2% outside of our margin of error, we also anticipate sometimes it's a 1-year abnormality. Sometimes, it's good to see a couple of years of data to really understand how we're tracking, because there may be something that happens in one particular year that causes enrollment to drop, but then it's going to bounce back up and fall right back in line with our forecast.
Other questions?
No other questions?
Just a couple of things. Is it on?
Yeah, hold on, just let me.
Okay. And then I think Chris also needs the microphone back, Joe. Just a couple of things.
No, you're good, Joe.
As this was mentioned, this was simply done it's a planning tool for us. As you could review the numbers that were on the screen, we've had a couple of really low classes and we've had a couple of high classes. Some of the high classes, in particular this 4th grade class, was very unexpected. During the course of the year that they were in 3rd grade, we saw a high number of kids coming in, if I recall correctly, in third grade at Lorraine, which was very unexpected. Because we've seen these highs and lows, we felt as though engaging in an enrollment study was the best course of action for us, again, as a planning tool to determine long-term staffing needs, how we utilize our buildings, in particular building capacity, because building capacity isn't just the number of kids and numbers of classrooms. Dawn Harris often talks about the rules around special education, and I'll turn it over to her to kind of explain how that works. So just because we have low numbers in one building doesn't mean that the building's not being utilized, because a lot of our programs are in-house. And then, of course, you know, when you're looking at numbers, you're also looking at the potential for redistricting. When you look at those numbers and you think 200, that's really not much in the scheme of things over 10 years. And as they mentioned in the study, a number of things could happen over the course of those 10 years. Just since the completion of the study, there's the potential for another apartment complex with over 200 units. So those are factors that are beyond everyone's control, but information that we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So this time, I think it's important for the board to hear from Dawn about building capacity with special education, because that is something that comes up in this community a lot, that we have like really small numbers, why are we not closing a building? And so we just want to be clear with people as exactly what this means for the district.
Yep, so it's basically just some simple math in the school code that relates to square footage requirements for special education classrooms. So you're required to have 28 square foot per child in a special education classroom. So obviously that's a parameter that all districts need to follow. In addition to that, there are caps on caseloads based on the type of special education support that's being provided through that caseload. So it's feasible that you could have a full classroom, but perhaps only have, I'll use autistic support as an example, you might only have 8 to 10 kids in that classroom at max based on the requirements and restrictions in school code.
I'd just also like to echo kind of what Dr. Haller said in terms of, you know, my concerns. You know, we did do this enrollment study. We wanted to know, obviously, projection-wise, how that would affect the school district. You know, what we'd be looking at in terms of staffing, buildings, you know, upkeep, that sort of thing. But you know, I think overall, I still have a concern of what I'm seeing is the overall changing of a lot of commercially zoned property or industrial zone property into residential, mainly within Exeter Township. We, like Dr. Haller said, we just learned that something that was originally touted as mixed use for the promenade is now looking like it's going to be strictly residential with an addition of 200 and over 200 apartment units in it. I would also keep in mind that the Reading Country Club was sold as a 10-year agreement. And that was also zoned, or the zoning was changed on that, and there's nothing preventing the owner of that property after that 10-year agreement is up to start building properties all over the Reading Country Club and no longer make it a golf course. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm saying that is a possibility. And these are the concerns I have when we're looking at long-term projections. And something that I've been complaining about for you know, well over a year now is that maybe it won't affect us, but 10, you know, people that live here 10, 15 years down the line could very well be facing the prospect of, you know, either having to build another school or hire a good number of additional staff to make up an increased enrollment that may not be coming out in, you know, directly in this enrollment report that we're seeing today. So that's the only point I'd like to make. Thank you.
No, I mean, I agree, looking at the numbers and you know, just again, article hit this morning, WFMZ, when you look at that, you look at where you're at in the 422 corridor, you're talking about development down to King of Prussia, potentially rail. When I think of Exeter and where you're located, I would be very hesitant over the next couple of years to do anything. Plus what Ms. Harris, talked about with, the capacity when you're looking at, you lose 200 kids, that's not 200 seats in today's functional capacity world because of the programming requirements that are put on districts and the mandates. And then if you're trying to run your own programming internally to save costs, you need the space to do it. So, looking at this, I think the value of this is as these things develop over the next 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, is that if we know things become more certain and it starts to violate those assumptions that Matt was talking about, we go back and say, okay, this is happening, rerun it, and let's see what it looks like in those out years. To me, like you have the basis of it now. They've done a lot of the legwork. They've learned about Exeter. They understand. They've done the research. It's going to be a lot easier to go back if things are happening quickly and take another look at those numbers for your planning purposes. So this shouldn't be an activity that becomes stale, shouldn't be on a shelf. It should be something that at a minimum every October 1, when those numbers are coming in, we're taking another look at it just to see how it's trending. I've done a few of these where Cropper's been the selected partner for the district. I looked at one, October 1 counts that was done a year ago, district 1,200 students, they were within 3 students. Another one, was about 2,500 students, they were within 10 students. So the accuracy I've seen, has been pretty good, but again, something changes quickly, it completely, can move the needle in a different direction, so.
Chris, an example of over here of a variable that could impact that. I agree with you. This is about as scientific as it gets. But for example, the rise in the number of children who require autistic support services in our community has drastically risen over the last year or so. That's not unique to Exeter. That's a nationwide trend that nobody's really able to explain, but it exists. And obviously something then that is not easy to predict in an enrollment study like this. But again, due to the requirements in school code around the space and the size needed for those classrooms, as districts need to accommodate that increase in need for services, that takes up more of that space.
It does.
And as you said, that doesn't equate to number of seats.
Right.
So.
I have a question, kind of a general question. What role, if any, does the Census Bureau's American Community Survey play in this? Or is that apples and oranges?
I don't know if the Cropper team's on yet. I would want them to answer that, Mr. Fiddler, just because I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know. Are they still on? They just got off. I will, Mr. Fiddler, I'll follow up with them tomorrow, and I'll communicate with Dr. Holler and get you an answer to that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I just like to thank you because I do think that it was important that we engaged in this study with our population changing. There's been a number of homes that have been for sale over the last couple of months. We've had the smallest kindergarten class that we've ever had since I've been here, which is close to 20 years. And we just wanted to be able to figure out exactly what was happening, where we were going, so that way we could do some long-term planning for the district and make sure that we were in a good place as far as building usage and just making solid decisions regarding staffing.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, if there's any other follow-up questions, Dr. Holler, later, just let us know, and we can certainly, and we'll get a response to Mr. Fiddler's question. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, next, Dr. Heller, do you have your superintendent's report?
So, January is School Board Appreciation Month, And so we would, of course, like to thank all of our school board members for their dedication to the students in this community. Despite what people think, school board members are unpaid volunteers. And so you spend a lot of time working with the administration to ensure that the students here in the Exeter Township School District receive the best education that we can possibly give. And from speaking from the administrations, from all of us, we just like to thank you for how great it is to work with each of you, and we appreciate everything that you do. So,
Excuse me, did you
Yes.
say unpaid?
yes, that's, are you've been waiting for that check for a long time, Mr. Fiddler. So as a token of appreciation for all of you, Jen Breton put together this video. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I think I speak for
Thank
everyone
you.
when I say you're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Breton. That was wonderful. Okay, we don't have anyone signed up for public comment on agenda items, so we'll move on to amending our October 25 board meeting minutes. Mr. Mill was absent from those meetings, so we did have to amend them to remove him. So those would be special board meeting voting from October 7th, the committee of the whole from October 7th, and the board voting meeting from October 21st, 2025. If there's no objection, we'll adopt a motion to approve the amended meeting minutes from October school board meetings. Okay. If there's no objection, we'll adopt the motion to approve the meeting minutes from last month's school board meetings. Hearing no objection, the meeting minutes are approved. The treasury report and payment requests are listed. If there's no objection, we will adopt a motion to approve the December 2025 treasurer's report and payment request dated December 17th, 2025 through January 20th, 2026. Hearing no objections, the treasurer's report and payment requests are approved. On to committees. Education with Mr. Fiddler.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. The first two items are, require no board action, the enrollment report and the field trips within the 60-mile radius. Any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll move on to item C, the consent agenda, which consists of 4 items. It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the following Education Committee items. Field trips beyond the 60-mile radius, several conferences, 2 students who want to graduate early, and a settlement agreement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. Personnel with Dr. Herring.
Thank you. It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approves or ratifies the following personnel items. Any items in bold have been added or changed since the Committee of the Whole meeting. Resignations, extracurricular staff, support staff, appointments of certificated staff, support staff, certificated substitutes, guest teachers, support staff substitutes, transfers of certificated staff, change of status of administrative staff, support staff, extracurricular staff, additional assignments, leave of absences, and the attached list of course requests.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's everything.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. And Finance and Audit Committee with Mrs. Bloom.
It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the fiscal year 2025-2026 Idea B Special Education Grants to States Program Agreement with the BCIU for a total amount of $698,474.83 and authorizes district administration to execute the agreement.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a question, is this money coming to us, or is this for the whole BCIU?
It's our funds.
Yeah.
Our money?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your annual federal allocation for IDEA Part B, which is the funding that the federal government gives you for your special education programs. It's not much, Mr. Fiddler.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approves the following finance and audit items. Number 1, budget transfers in the amount of $73,174. And that's it.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's it for finance.
Thank you, Mrs. Bloom. Facility and Transportation, Dr. Herring, would you cover that for me, please?
Sure. It is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the Public School Facility Improvement Grant Resolution. Would you like me to read the resolution, or are we good without it?
It basically authorizes Dr. Holler and myself to apply for be the signatures to apply for the grants.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And that's everything.
Policy Committee, Mr. Mel.
Okay, we are voting on the first reading of Policy 807, opening exercises, moment of silence, flag displays, where it is drafted to include the POWMIA flag within the flag displays.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Can we do a roll call on this?
Julia Schaefer?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Dr. Andrea Battler? Deborah Bloom?
Yes.
Joseph Cook?
Yes.
John Fiddler?
Yes.
Dr. Ann Herring?
No.
Jason Mill?
Yes.
Travis Odom?
Yes.
Allison Wilson?
No.
6 yes, 2 no, motion passes.
Thank you.
And just for everyone's awareness, that is the first reading passing, and now the second reading will go into the February Committee of the Whole and the February voting meeting. So that is it for my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. Athletics and extracurricular, Mr. Odom.
Thank you, Ms. Schaefer. Winter sports are underway. I just got a text message that Aiden Dobble scored his 1,000th point for boys basketball tonight. So congratulations to Aiden Dobble on that history-making shot. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Odom, and I will present my ECF report. ECS is very proud to announce that we had our biggest EITC donation total ever in 2025 at $156,500. So many thanks to Mailshark, JP Mascaro and Sons, Customers Banks, Tompkins Bank, Mid-Penn Bank, East Penn Manufacturing, Dr. Glenn Corbin, and Mr. and Mrs. Kevin Timochenko. Hopefully I didn't botch that. We are very excited to work with the district administration to bring new and exciting programs to life to benefit our Exeter students. We are already getting to work on this year's first 2 events. The first is our second annual Run to Soar, 5K, 10K, and 1 mile fun run that will be held on Saturday, April 4th at Trout Run, and our 5th annual Food Truck Festival that will be held on Friday, May 15th at the senior high school. Keep up with the news regarding these events on our social media pages and ECEF website. We hope you'll join us. Thank you. BCTC Joint Operating Committee, and I'm going to appoint you both, BCIU Board of Directors. Mr. Fiddler.
Thank you. BCIU met last week, and I already sent around the report from that meeting. On the Career and Technology Center front, I'm working to try to set up a meeting and board tour and dinner for this board in March. That would be the March 17th voting meeting. I'm working with Mr. Way to make sure that we can stream or broadcast our meeting. So I'll have more to say about that as soon as I dot some I's and cross some T's. This board hasn't been to the BCTC since the 2018-2019 school year, so I think it's time for us to go back. Ann, were you on the board? Did you go to that? Okay. But I guess we didn't do any streaming then, because we probably weren't streaming. It was just the board, the dinner, the tour, and the meeting, right? Yeah.
I think Mr. Way would love to set up streaming at BCTC. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he would.
So I'll have more to say to that, probably via email. And that's my report. Those are my reports. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fiddler. I was actually going to bring that up at the end of the meeting, but hopefully we can work that out because I think it'd be fun. But next is Legislative PSBA Liaison, Mr. Mel.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. I've got to start off and say I had so many people in the community come up to me last month and say, you know, Jason, we absolutely love your legislative update on milk changes. So everyone's going to be happy to know I have another milk update. So on January 14th, President Trump signed into law the Whole Milk for Healthy Kids Act of 2025. The action allows schools participating in the National School Lunch Program to serve whole and 2% fat milk, along with the skim and low-fat products required since 2012. The law also permits schools to serve non-dairy milk that meets the nutritional standards of milk and requires schools to offer a non-dairy milk alternative if kids provide a note from the parents, not just from doctors, saying they have a dietary restriction. So that is my milk update. Moving on, Pennsylvania's Act 44, 2025, formerly Senate Bill 246, went into effect on January 6th of this year. The law requires public and private schools to notify parents, guardians, and employees within 24 hours when a weapon is found on school property, at school events, or on school transport. The law is meant to enhance safety by mandating communication while protecting student privacy. The district sent out a parent square notification to staff and families with detailed information on the process. Okay. With the continued deterioration of traditional print newspapers, PSBA strongly supports Senate Bill 194, which would allow legal notices to be published on a district's website, on a public legal notice website, or in print where available. Senate Bill 194 awaits action by the full Senate. A similar effort is underway in the House, where Representative Jason Audit circulated a co-sponsor memo last week. PSBA is working closely with him as the legislation is prepared for introduction. PSBA opposes House Bill 1291, which would retain outdated requirements by mandating newspaper publication and limiting flexibility for local governments. And the State Senate Majority Policy Committee held a public hearing on improving reading outcomes at the Daniel Boone Middle School on January 12th. State education leaders, legislators, and literacy experts met at the public event focused on improving literacy outcomes for students across the Commonwealth. The discussion was part of a broader push tied to the state's 2025-26 budget and new literacy policies. Participants talked about the importance of structured literacy approaches and teacher training to support effective reading instruction statewide. The event reflects ongoing efforts in Pennsylvania to address low reading proficiency, a problem that statewide data shows many students struggle with, and to strengthen early literacy through policy, funding, and instructional change. And lastly, Governor Shapiro is scheduled to give his fourth budget address to the General Assembly on February 3rd, 2026. Both chambers have posted schedules for hearings starting February 23rd. The Senate hearings are scheduled to wrap up on March 5th, and the House hearings are set to conclude on March 12th. That is all for my update.
Thank you, Mr. Mel. Okay. Next, we will move on to public comment for non-agenda items. We have one person signed up. Oh, I forgot Joe. Sorry, my bad. Yep, Township Borough Liaison, Mr. Cook.
That's all right. Thanks, Mrs. Schaefer. Just to give everyone an update, Mrs. Schaefer and I did attend the Exeter Township Board of Supervisors meeting last week. We did introduce ourselves over to the new elected supervisors. Just to anticipate continuing to foster a good positive relationship with the township and just have a good collaborative working relationship there. Two other items. There were some, the hearings today were held at the Dunn Community Center regarding some of the proposed rate changes for PA American Water, which are all a hot topic for us here as residents as well as district, within the district here. So Those were held today at the Dunn Center. And then one other final item that's going to be held at the Rifton School on January 28th regarding just an informational session as well as a Q&A regarding the new proposed emergency services center project that the township is holding. So that will have informational updates as well as your chance to ask questions. That'll be it.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Cook. Oh, yes, and the district did file the complaint on the 13th regarding the PAWC,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, and there is record of that. It was served to Pennsylvania American Waters Council on the 15th, so they did receive it.
Okay, now on to public comment. We do have one. Mr. Kirschner, would you like to come up?
My name's Cliff Kirschner. I'm a member of Vietnam Veterans of America, Berks County Chapter 131.
Mr. Kirschner, I hate to interrupt. Can you just state your address as well?
Yes, I was just going to
Okay,
do that.
thank you.
I live at 98 Hollyberry Road, Macungie, Pennsylvania, and I was actually hoping to speak to you before the vote. But good evening, members of the Exeter Township School Board, faculty, and fellow community members. I'm here to respectfully request that the Exeter Township School Board approve the update to Policy 807 and the flying of the POW-MIA flag at, alongside the American flag at all Exeter Township school buildings, administration buildings, and athletic fields. I previously spoke about the history and the design of the POW-MIA flag, so I won't discuss that this evening. The POW-MIA flag is a powerful, enduring symbol of our nation's commitment to never forget our men and women who were prisoners of war or those who went missing in action while serving in the United States Armed Forces. Over 80,000 are still missing from all wars. There's 90 from Pennsylvania missing from Vietnam, and 3 of our Berks County brothers are missing in action from Vietnam. Were you aware that 65 names from Berks County are engraved on the Vietnam War Memorial in the Reading City Park? William McMichael, who was a World War II Army officer, warrant officer, 80 years ago was killed in the Asia-Pacific War, and a few months ago we were able to bring him home. They had a police escort, brought the hearse back from the Philadelphia airport, a motorcycle escort, and his sister, one of her dying wishes, they brought him back to Boyertown, his hometown, and one of her dying wishes was that she would have this issue resolved, that she would finally be able to bring her brother home. She was 97 years old. She couldn't be at the funeral home, so when they took him to Indiantown Gap, they drove the hearse past her house so that she could kiss the coffin before he was buried. How would local veterans in your community ask you to vote on the policy before you tonight? How about Gold Star families? How would they ask you to vote? How would community members whose family members and friends of service personnel that were killed or missing in action expect you to vote? Some are you concerned about the risk of flying the POW-MIA flag? Risk is defined as the possibility or uncertainty of a negative outcome, loss, or injury, often measured by the likelihood of an event occurring and its potential impact. My research has not identified one legal case relating to the challenge of raising the POW-MIA flag in a school district. Remember, thousands of men and women have risked everything and paid the ultimate sacrifice so that you can sit here today with the freedom that you have to vote on Policy 807 and raise the POW-MIA flag. I'm only asking you to fly the POW MIA flag for those that are missing and can't be here to ask. In my opinion, based on the lack of legal challenges, there is no risk. I respectfully ask that you vote yes and show this community and its veterans that you understand the significance and importance of the POW MIA flag and honor and remember those that never returned home. Thank you for your time, service to the community, and commitment to honoring those who served.
Thank you, Mr. Kershaw. Just so you know, there was 2 sign-up sheets. One was for agenda items and non-agenda.
I thought I signed up for the agenda item.
No, you signed up for the non-agenda items, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering why I didn't get
No,
asked
I
to speak.
apologize. Yeah, it says agenda items only, so is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Okay.
Mrs. Schaefer, could I just add a comment at the end here? And Mr. Kirchner, even though you didn't get to speak until after the vote here, just like I brought up before, a reminder that there is a second reading that still needs to pass yet. So the first reading was the first pass through that had to be approved, but there is a second reading. So the second reading will go for discussion at our February 3rd Committee of the Whole meeting, and then February 18th is the vote on the second reading. So so there will be other opportunities to speak before then as well. Thank you.
Just as an announcement, the board will meet in executive session immediately following this meeting to discuss litigation. The board will also hold a retreat on Saturday, January 24th. Are there any board members who wish to be heard this time? No? Okay. Our next meeting will be the Committee of the Whole meeting on Tuesday, February 3rd, 2026 at 6 p.m. If there are no objections, we'll adjourn the meeting. Hearing none, a meeting is adjourned.